So again, Georgia Tech finishes 9-4, wins 3 games over the SEC, and is kind of part of the theme of the entire conference in the ACC, with one more fairly significant game to play next week, with Clemson taking on Alabama for the national championship. 8-3 for the ACC, and in losing to LSU and Stanford, no shame in that for the conference. Northwestern beating Pitt might be the only slight mark against the conference as a favorite, but man, the ACC really showed up, Joey.
That's right. This has been a very strong bowl season for the ACC, as you mentioned. A couple of tough losses. I've been working with Mike McDaniel, who also joins here. We do a podcast covering ACC football, basketball conference podcast for those unaware. But I felt horrible about the Louisville LSU game. I did not think Louisville really stood a chance, and that game turned out kind of how I predicted it would. No shame in that one at all. And the Pittsburgh game, they probably should have won that game. They started dealing with a lot of injuries throughout. They had terrible luck turning the ball over in the red zone. So, you kind of shrug that one off. But other than that, I mean, there have been a lot of really strong performances here in bowl season from ACC teams. And I think it's really starting to show the depth of the conference that maybe, once upon a time there was 2 or 3 good teams at the top and then some mediocre to subpar teams after that. And then now it kind of looks more like, the meat of the ACC, the middle of the conference, is about as good as any conference in the country, which is very encouraging, and I think is really a big product of some good hires that have been made, especially in the Coastal Division over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and specifically, yes, the Coastal Division. That's been the difference because, Clemson and Florida State being the givens, and Louisville now in the last couple of years. But the Coastal Division has to be stronger than it's been in forever. So we've had some teams win the Coastal that were somewhat questionable, not necessarily even top 25 teams. But now going into 2017, this shapes up to be a pretty exciting race, with North Carolina being a fairly established program, Virginia Tech showing us a lot down the stretch and winning the division and taking out Arkansas with a great comeback. Miami looks to be in great shape, young team, and Georgia Tech solid. Pitt has built a program under Pat Narduzzi, so it's quite a race, and not quite a race in the way that it's been in the past, with a lot of middling 500 teams in conference trying to get to 7-8 wins and win the division, but meaning teams that are pretty strong nationally as well. So it should be exciting going into 2017.
I would agree, and that was the point that I was going to bring up too, is that if next year you find an ACC Coastal champion that's like 5-3, that's not because nobody's particularly good. It's because a lot of these teams are pretty particularly good. So I especially am curious to see teams like Virginia Tech and Miami in year 2 under coaches Justin Fuente and Mark Richt, respectively. I think that'll be really interesting to see where they're at. But it does figure to be a very fun and interesting season of ACC football in 2017.
Joey Weaver from the Rumble seat breaking down Georgia Tech's 9-4 campaign, specifically the big win over Kentucky in the Tax Slayer Bowl, as well as the ACC in its entirety. Joey, we always appreciate the time. It's good talking to you.
Thanks, Mark. Enjoyed it. Happy New Year.